Hi, my name is Francis MacDonald, and I'm CEO of Lift Power. And Lift is focused on exploring and developing hard rock lithium deposits in Canada.
Francis, good to see you. Good to see you indeed. Tricky markets out there. Lithium's obviously been on a tough ride, and a few lithium companies falling over. Why won't you?
We won't fall over because I think we have the right asset, and it's shaping up pretty well. We've just finished the winter drill program at our Yellowknife Lithium Project, and so to date, in the last 10 months, we've drilled about 50,000 meters. We've been continuing to put out drill results, and so you can see what the grades and widths are, and I think they're all pretty respectable. And so that's, I think, why we will fall over is we have a great asset that's going to weather a bad market, and we're getting ready for the next run up in lithium prices.
Do you think that's all it is? I mean, lithium prices come off. It's like, I understand it's a fairly small sector. It's a fairly nascent industry. Do you think there will be kind of price recovery, price discovery?
Absolutely. I think it's just a matter of time. And when you look backwards for the last 10 years, this is what lithium's done. It's gone up and it's crashed, and then everyone was down in the dumps about lithium, and they said, oh, it's over, it's never coming back, and then it reaches new heights. And to me, I think the difference going forward is that this last run up in lithium prices brought on a lot of swing production. And when I say that, that's lepidolite out of China, direct shipping ore out of Africa. And so that will always be there, and I think it'll put a ceiling on prices. But the reality is we don't need $80,000 a ton lithium carbonate. You know, if we had a steady $20,000 to $25,000 lithium carbonate, that would make a lot of good projects economic.
Right. And so how did you feel? Because I kind of slightly glibly referenced the fact that, you know, lots of companies falling over. That's because lots of new entrants came in last year, in the last 18 months or so, jumping on the bandwagon, should we politely say. But it was tougher than they expected, and perhaps they got the timing wrong. There are less companies, less competition, but the demand is still there, we're told, by all of the research companies. You've still got to demonstrate scale, and you've got to demonstrate to someone with a big enough balance sheet that the economics could be there. Now, the grades seem quite good. You're discovering the grades. When do you start piecing this together to kind of show the market how it operates as a complete ore body, as a complete operation potentially?
Yeah, that's something that we're going towards. And so we're doing the metallurgical testing right now at Yellowknife. The resource estimate, or the initial resource estimate, will come out later this year. And then we'll see where the market is. You know, we haven't really defined the edges of these things yet. So the game plan right now is to increase the resource, and, you know, we want to make sure that we're getting as much of a resource as we can into an economic study, just to really show how big this can be.
Are you sure the speed to market is the right strategy? You went and raised $10 million back in end of March. Why did you feel the need to do that rather than kind of sit back and, again, let the market breathe and kind of find its level again?
I think for us, and for most people in Canada, the critical path to any mining project is permitting. And so we're really trying to stick on that timeline, because if you start missing some of that, then, you know, you quickly blow out into 15 years from discovery to production, and that is the average timeline in Canada. So you have to be really cognizant of those things. And, you know, in 15 years, do we want to be pushing a lithium mine forward? Maybe, maybe not. You know, I think the time is now to be really focusing on lithium, because, like you said, it's a nascent market. Things are getting built out. There will be a maximum amount of lithium that people will need, and you want to make sure that you've captured some of that market share.
Right. Okay. Your team are over in, I think, Korea and also Japan recently. They're meeting investors, which is great, but they're probably also talking to other industry players as well. So what's the news from Asia with regards to demand?
I think the summary is that the geopolitics are playing more into the equation these days, and the Korean OEMs, the battery manufacturers, are nervous that part of the supply chain right now is in China, and it wouldn't be IRA compliant. So if you're a Samsung, that's obviously an issue, because you might get shut out of selling your products into the US market. So they're quite interested in securing supply all through the supply chain from places that don't involve China.
Interesting. So do you think it sounds like it's probably potentially a bifurcated market, not just in terms of pricing, but in terms of commodity origin? If the US does play that game, and they seem to be heading that way for sure. For you, in terms of the timing of getting a strategic on board, it's going to be predicated on clearly resource, clearly maybe demonstrating the beginnings of some economics. Do you see money coming out of the West anytime soon? We've seen the other commodities struggle to get Western money, yet Asia seems to move quicker.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Mitsubishi come in and do a JV deal with Frontier Lithium in Ontario. Last year, we saw it was LG that did a deal with Green Technology Metals also in Ontario. So the Asian OEMs and trading houses are definitely out there and looking for lithium. We haven't seen much in terms of deal flow in North America from North American companies, other than the 5% interest that Albemarle bought in Patriot last summer. But, we are kind of hearing that they are interested in securing North American supply as well.
Okay. And just back on the ground, actually, I kind of skipped over the $10 million quite quickly. I mean, what are you going to be using it for? Because if I look at the news headlines, you're banging out like, strong, high-grade headline type news, week after week after week. So it all sounds good, but in terms of the network and the other type of work that you're doing on the ground, and trying to kind of bring together the picture, how does this $10 million get allocated to that? Is just going to be more drilling and more of the same?
For right now, we're not going to drill any more meters this summer because we've drilled 50,000. That's going to go into the resource. I think it's really like, let's get that out and show how big this is. Metallurgy is obviously going to be important as well. And this summer we're doing a big environmental baseline program. And so that is one of the key things we need to do to keep this on track for permitting. And the other thing that's going to happen this summer is we've just put out some results from our Quebec project, which we haven't really talked about that much, but this is earlier stage, but it's in the James Bay district. And what we're seeing is that it seems like this is the signature of, a lot of spodumene deposits, pegmatites underneath till cover. So we'll be doing some follow-up work there this summer as well.
Right, so that's Quebec Greenfields you're talking about.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think when money's tight and the market's like it is, and it's kind of trying to discover itself in a way, you've got to allocate your money sensibly. So how much money are you talking about allocating to Quebec in terms of time and money? Yeah,
so it's not that much money. It'll be probably around 800,000.
Okay.
So
okay.
Relatively cheap. We're not blowing the budget, but the thing is that we can add a lot of value, and I think that by the end of this summer, we could get to drill targets. And the thing is if we didn't do the work this summer, we'd have to wait until next summer. And so then you're pushing out a potential drill program by at least a year. So it's a relatively small amount of money, but it does kind of give us optionality into 2025 in case the prices do come back. And then there we are sitting with a drill target that looks like it could be like a whole pegmatite district.
Right. And the idea is to hold on to it, right? Because we've seen a few companies having to look at, maybe dividing up the portfolio just to bring in some non-dilutive capital. You obviously been able to raise some money, and I think you're good for a bit. Well, how long will $10 million last you? Just what are you aiming for?
We'll be good for the rest of the year.
Right. Okay. So, but at some point, in terms of optionality, part of that optionality would be going to flip it out, presumably, if you needed to.
That's something that we've kind of explored internally. But I think at this point, it makes more sense to do it within Lyft. And the idea is that if we make a discovery, we've de-risked it to a point where there's going to be a lot of appetite for it in the public market versus something that's still greenfields at this point. It's harder for people to get excited about it, and it's just going to be more legal fees and just more capital that doesn't necessarily need to be spent at that point.
Okay, fine. And we've been focused on Yellowknife how's Cali getting on?
Yeah, Cali, we did some surface work last summer, and so we're going to put out some news on that in the next week or two. And so it's looking good, but you'll have to sit tight until we put out the surface results.
Okay. Well, like, so as far as you're concerned, strategy holds true. Speed to market. No more drilling for now. This is going to be pretty much focused on desk work to kind of show the value of this thing and potentially show a bit of ankle to the industry about the potential here. Yeah.
Yep, and also environmental work as well.
All part and parcel of the same thing, I think. So that's really good news. Well, Francis, that's it. Really. I just want to kind of catch up, make sure things are motoring along. As you say, it's always interesting when sort of there's people sort of dropping by the wayside here. Less competition is good news, and let's hope lithium actually does start to make a comeback this year. See you soon.
Thanks a lot. Talk to you soon.